My father had believed my stepsister's lies. That ruined my reputation and he threw me out without saying a word. Now he begged, but I gave him exactly what he deserved. This all started when he was 17 and I had no idea that a family vacation would basically ruin my life. Sounds dramatic, but, trust me, this one won't. It's one of those situations where it's just a little sibling rivalry. This was the moment when my relationship with my family began to fall apart, thanks to my stepsister, Lai. She had 14 years old at the time and we had never really been close. I wouldn't say we hated each other before, but we just didn't fit together, you know. So we were on this family trip to a beach resort. It was supposed to be one of those nice, relaxing vacations, except for the fact that I'm forced to share a room with Lai. I had no choice and it didn't make much sense to me. Grace, I was very wrong. I had this attitude as if was better than everyone else. Maybe it was because she was the smallest in the family, or maybe she was just like that, but in any case, I was always the favorite in the eyes of my father and stepmother. Meanwhile, I was there alone, not exactly the black sheep, more like the forgotten sheep. They didn't hate me, but they didn't care that much either. You know what I mean. Anyway, after a couple of days of pretending to be civilized, Leo and I had a big argument. I don't even remember how it started. It was probably something stupid like me borrowing his toothbrush without ask or she hogging the bathroom. But it escalated quickly. Before I knew it, we were yelling at each other and she threw a pillow at me like a 10-year-old doing a tantrum. After that, she completely ignored me. For the rest of the trip, Lai didn't say a word to me, not even good morning, or pass me the sunscreen, nothing. He literally acted like I didn't exist and honestly I was fine with that. I thought, great, I don't have to deal with her, but the silence didn't. He stopped when we got home and continued ignoring me like he was completely faking it. That wasn't there and at first it was just a little strange. I assumed it would pass after a while. I mean, he's 14. Right, can't stay angry forever. Again, I was wrong. Things started to get really weird when he started spreading rumors about me. I didn't know at the time moment, but apparently I had been telling our stepmother and my father that I was paying attention. Once drug addict and a prostitute, yes, you read correctly, said that I was selling my body for money and that I was addicted to drugs. And you know what the worst thing is? They believed her. I didn't find out until a few months later, but by then the damage was done. I had convinced them that I was a total mess and my dad and stepmom were starting to treat me differently. They wouldn't say anything directly, but I could tell by the way they acted. They were distant, cold, critical. My father barely looked at me, and my stepmother? He started watching me like a hawk every time I left the house. At first he didn't. I had an idea why they acted like that. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Yes, there was. I'd smoked marijuana a couple of times at parties, but it wasn't like I was a drug addict and I had been on a couple of dates. Sure, but I wasn't doing anything remotely close to what Lai was accusing me of. But no matter how hard I tried to act normal, my parents were convinced that I was this terrible teenager and rebel. Everything came to a head one night when my father confronted me. I was just sitting in my room minding my own business when he burst in and started yelling at me about how I was ruining the family and how I needed to straighten my life out. I had no idea what I was talking about like that. I asked him and that's when he dropped the bomb. He told me that Lee had confessed having seen me sneak out at night, meeting random guys and doing drugs. My first reaction was to laugh because it sounded so ridiculous. I was serious, but he wasn't laughing. He was completely serious, and the angrier he got, the more I realized that this wasn't just a misunderstanding. He really believed her. I tried to defend myself. I tried to tell him that it wasn't true, that Lee was lying. But he didn't want to hear it. He told me I was disrespecting my family and that I needed to come to my senses or I would end up being kicked out. It was then that I realized that, no matter what I said, they would never believe me if I had poisoned their minds against me, and there was nothing I could do to fix it. Things only got worse from there. My stepmother started treating me like I was a criminal. He would rummage through my things when I wasn't home, looking for drugs or evidence of whatever it was that Leo. I felt like I was being watched 24/7, and it made me paranoid. Every time I came home I wondered if this was the day I would finally get kicked out. Lie, meanwhile, acted like nothing was wrong. Still ignored me, but every now and then, when I caught her smiling maliciously as if she was proud of what she had done, I couldn't believe it. I had no idea why she was doing this to me. But I knew one thing: I couldn't trust her. It wasn't long time before I started plummeting. I mean, how could I not? My whole family thought I was a degenerate and I had no one on my side. I started isolating myself by staying in my room as much as possible, trying to avoid my father and stepmother. I didn't have many friends at the time, so I didn't really have anyone to talk to about what was going on. I felt completely alone. In retrospect, I should have left sooner. I should have just packed my bags and left. But I was afraid I had nowhere to go and I was still in school, trying to finish my senior year. So I stayed behind, hoping that somehow things will get better, but they didn't. They only got worse. After Lo started that whole rumor about me being a prostitute and a drug addict, everything got out of hand. It wasn't enough that my parents basically turned their backs on me. They completely believed him without even questioning him. My father, who I thought would at least ask me what was going on, didn't even try. He just went straight to lecturing me every chance he got, talking about how he was going to ruin my life. And since I was a disappointment, I tried everything. I tried to talk to them seriously, explaining to them that Lee was lying, that none of it was true. But no matter what I said, they didn't want to hear it. My stepmother even said, "Why would Lie lie? What does she have to gain from this?" And at that moment he didn't have answer. I didn't know why Lee was doing this. I just knew he was ruining my life for reasons that the strangest part could not understand. Lie kept smiling at me maliciously every time I passed by. It was as if she enjoyed watching me suffer. She knew that had my parents eating out of his hand and he used it. I don't know how or when it started, but he knew exactly how to manipulate them. And the more I tried to defend myself, the more they reaffirmed their belief that I was the problem. It got to the point where I just stopped talking. What was the problem since? They weren't going to believe me. So why bother trying to explain myself? I came home from school and went straight to my room and tried to avoid them. I started to feel like a stranger in my own home and honestly, didn't even know if I wanted to stay there any longer. But at 17, where was I supposed to go? I had no friends to stay at and I had no money saved because my father kept part of my pay from part-time work for expenses from the house. Then came the breaking point. One night I came home later than usual because I had stayed late at school to finish a project. As soon as I walked through the door, My father was there waiting for me, looking like he was about to explode. Without even letting me say a word, he started yelling, "Where were you, what? What the hell do you think you're doing, sneaking around like that?" I was confused, as if completely taken by surprise. I told him I was working on a school project, but he didn't believe me. He ranted about how he knew I was lying and that lie had said he had seen me run away with some boy before. That's when I lost my temper. I mean, how many more lies was I going to tell? Count how much more damage he could do before they finally saw what was really going on. I yelled back at him and told him that lie was making everything up. That he was making everything up just to annoy me. But my father didn't accept it. He stood right in front of me, and for the first time I really thought he was going to hit me. His fists were clenched and he was shaking with rage, as if he were about to lose control. I don't even remember what I said afterward, but whatever it was, made him lose control. He raised his hand as if he was going to hit me, but instead slammed it against the kitchen counter so hard that I thought I had broken something outside my house. He said in such a low, calm voice that it was even scarier than when I was screaming, "I can't even look at you anymore. You are an embarrassment." I stood still for a second trying to process what had just happened. It was really throwing me away just like that for a bunch of lies. I ran upstairs and grabbed a few things and I left without even saying anything to lie. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't give her the satisfaction. All I could think about was how this girl, this 14-year-old girl, had turned my life completely upside down and there was nothing I could do about it. So I ended up staying home from a friend for a few days. They didn't know the full story, but they knew enough to let me hang around a bit while I sorted things out. My dad didn't call, my stepmother didn't call, Ellie definitely didn't call. It was like they just called me, erased from their lives. Overnight, I finally found a shabby apartment with the little money I had. And for a while I didn't even think about my family. I was just trying to survive. It wasn't easy, but at least I was out of that house and didn't have to deal with his accusations. I didn't have to deal with lying to myself with malice, as if I had won some kind of twisted game. For a few months things were quiet. I didn't hear from my parents at all. Honestly, a part of me hoped that after some time had passed they would realize that they were wrong, that I was lying to them and they would get in touch to apologize. But nothing. Then, out of nowhere, I received a message from Lai's ex-boyfriend. Now hadn't thought about Lou in a long time. I mean, why would I do that? It was no longer part of my life and honestly, I was happier that way. So when this guy texted me I wasn't really sure what to expect. But what he told me changed everything. Apparently, Lai had gotten very drunk one night and in the middle of an argument with her boyfriend, she simply told everything. He admitted that he had lied to me all those years ago. Not just little lies. She confessed that she had made up the whole story about me being a prostitute and a drug addict because she was jealous of me, and look at this. She was jealous because she thought I was getting too much attention of the boys. I sat there looking at my phone trying to process what I had just read, my mind going 1,000 an hour. All that time, all those years of my life being ruined. My family treating me like garbage, all because Lee was jealous of some teenage silliness. I didn't even know how to feel. A part of me wanted to laugh at what ridiculous that was. But mostly I was just angry, I mean really angry. I remembered all the times I tried to defend myself, all the times I begged my father and stepmother to take me away, believe, all the nights I cried in my room, feeling like my whole family had turned against me for something I didn't even do. And for what? Because Lai couldn't stand that I receiving attention was unreal. So now I had this confession right. I had proof that Lai had been lying the whole time. Her ex-boyfriend even said he would support me if I wanted to confront her or tell my parents. But I honestly didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to run straight to my dad's house and throw it in his face like, "See, I said I wasn't lying." But another part of me was just tired of the whole situation, tired of trying to get them to see the truth when they clearly didn't care enough to realize for themselves. I thought about it for a few days, trying to decide what to do. In the end, I didn't confront Lai, I didn't tell my parents, I didn't do anything. What would I change? Of course I could show them the proof and maybe they would apologize. But would that really make up for everything they had put me through? Would they give me back the money years that I lost? The answer was no. So I let it go. I blocked the number of the Lai's ex-boyfriend, I deleted the message and moved on, or at least tried to. The truth is that, even though I didn't do anything with the confession, it still weighed on me. It felt like this giant chunk of unfinished business that I just couldn't forget about. Every time I thought I was done with it, something would remind me of my family and the anger would return quickly. It's hard to explain, but it was like there was a part of me that still I wanted justice, even though I knew I would never get it. At that time I had started to build a new life, had a decent job, an apartment that wasn't great but was mine, and I had met someone whose name was CA and he was all I needed. He was kind, supportive and, most importantly, he didn't come with all the burden that my family did. For the first time for a long time, I felt like I had something good in my life. Kale knew about my family situation. I didn't tell him everything, but he knew enough to understand why I wasn't close to them. He didn't pressure me to talk about it, which I appreciated. He understood that I was trying to move on and was just happy to be a part of that. We were dating for about a year when the whole thing happened. Lai and Kale's confession was my rock through it all. But even with their support, I couldn't shake the feeling of that something was still unresolved. My parents had not contacted me since I left. Not even once, just once. No calls, no text messages, nothing. And as much as I would like pretend I didn't care if I cared, I hated that. I cared, but I couldn't avoid. It were my family and even though they had hurt me, I still wanted some kind of closure. I just didn't know how to get it. Then, suddenly, my father called me At first I didn't even recognize the number because it had been so long since I heard from him. When I answered, there was an awkward silence on the other end, as if he didn't know what to say. Finally he cleared his throat and said, "We need to talk now." If this had been done a few years ago, I would have jumped at the chance to have this conversation and I would have been ready to lay it all out and demand an apology. But now I didn't even know if I wanted to hear what he had to say. Even so, curiosity got the better of me, so I agreed to meet him for coffee. When we met it was like seeing I miss. My father seemed older, more tired than I remembered, and there was this tension awkward between us that made the whole situation even stranger. We talked about unimportant things at a while, nothing important, just catching up. Then finally got to the point. He said that Lai had confessed and told him everything about the lies, jealousy, all, and just like that, all the anger I had been holding on to, came back quickly, said he was sorry, said he couldn't believe he had been so blind that he regretted everything and wished he had listened to me. But here's the thing, I didn't feel any better hearing it. An apology wasn't going to fix what he had done was not going to make up for the fact that he had abandoned me when I needed him most. And as much as I wanted to fix things, I knew it was too late for that. I told him I appreciated the apology, but I wasn't sure if I could ever forgive him. And you know what? He didn't even object. He just nodded like he knew he was missing me, and we sat there in silence for a while. When we finally said goodbye, and it felt like something final, as if we both knew this would be the last time we would. We would talk, and that was it, without much confrontation, no dramatic reunion, just a quiet goodbye. So fast forward a couple of years and the things are finally going well for me. I've overcome all the family drama, or at least I thought that I had done it. I am engaged to Kill and we are planning our wedding. Everything should be perfect, right? Well, of course, it's never that easy when it comes to family. I made the decision pretty early on that I wasn't going to invite Lai to the wedding. I mean, after everything he did to me go through, why would I do that? I didn't want that kind of negativity around me in such an important day. Kill agreed, and it felt like a weight off my shoulders knowing that I didn't have to deal with Lai's manipulative nonsense anymore. So we're sending invitations. Making plans, everything is going smoothly. I even decided to invite my father and my stepmother because, despite all the pain of the past, a part of me wanted them to be there. They had apologized, and I guess a little part of me still clung to the hope that maybe, just maybe, we could be a family again. But of course nothing with my family ever goes as planned. Plans started with a phone call from my father. I remember looking at the screen, seeing his name appear, and feel a strange mixture of excitement and dread. I thought maybe it was called to talk about the wedding, maybe he wanted to help or something. I don't know, I guess. Still, I kept hoping that we could have a normal relationship. How wrong I was. "Hello," he said, his voice sounding strangely stiff, as if he were trying too hard to keep his informal things. "We need to talk about the wedding." I immediately felt a knot in my stomach. I realized that something was wrong, but I tried to stay calm. "Yes, what? What's up?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line, and I could hear him take a breath. It was then that I knew that whatever came next would not be good. "I've been asking why you didn't get an invitation," he said. I literally felt my whole body tense up. Of course this was about Lai. It was always about Lai. "She's not invited," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm not having her at my wedding." "Dad." That's when I dropped the bomb. "If Lai is not invited, I can't come either, just me." I sat there for a second stunned. I honestly couldn't believe what I was listening to, my father giving me an ultimatum to invite the sister who ruined my life or he wouldn't be there. At first I couldn't even find words. I mean, how was that fair? I understand that he didn't want to choose between his daughters, but Lai wasn't a sister anyone I had a small argument with literally ruined my entire relationship with my family and expected me to forgive her and have her at my wedding. No way, are you serious? Now I finally managed to say it. I could feel my voice tremble, and not because of sadness. Just pure anger. "You have to understand," he said, sounding too calm for someone who he had just placed a huge demand on his daughter. "He truly feels it. He's been trying to fix things." That's when I lost my temper. "Trying to fix things? You're making fun of me. You ruined my life. Dad lied about me being a prostitute and a drug addict, and you believed him. And now you say I have to invite her to my wedding, as if none of that ever happened. He tried to calm me down by saying something about how the family should stay together and how Lee had changed, but I didn't. I wasn't listening to any of that. I was so angry I could barely see straight. It wasn't just about, I read in this point, was about my father choosing her over me once again. It was like it didn't matter what she was still the favorite and I was the one who had to make all the compromises. I finally told him, if you can't come to my wedding without her, then don't bother coming. I hung up the phone before that I could say something else. I was shaking, trying to hold back the tears because, honestly, for angry that she was still hurt me. I had really thought that after all this time we could have a decent relationship. But here we were again, me being excluded and Elle getting all the consideration. I felt that nothing had changed. When I told Care what happened to him, he was furious and said he couldn't believe my father would put me in that position and I wouldn't care. I owed Lie nothing. You deserve better than this, he kept saying, and honestly, he was right. If he deserved something better, he didn't deserve. My own wedding would turn into some kind of family drama because my father couldn't handle the idea of choosing sides. Over the next few days, I received a ton of messages from my stepmother, all saying the same thing. Please reconsider, Lie, family, she feels it. Blah, blah, blah. I ignored every single one of them. I wasn't going to back down. This was my wedding and I wasn't going to let Leo ruin it, just like she ruined everything else. But then, a couple of weeks later, my dad showed up at my apartment. I didn't expect it, and when I opened the door I almost slammed it in his face. But he looked so tired, like he hadn't slept in days, and part of me wanted to hear what he had to say. No, I'm here to fight, he said as soon as I opened the door. I just want to talk. I let him in and we sat for a minute. Neither of us said anything. The silence, it was so thick you could cut it with a knife. He finally spoke. I know I've made a mistakes, he said, looking down at his hands, as if he couldn't even look me in the face. But I'm trying to fix things. I don't want to lose you. I didn't say anything. I was too angry as if to trust myself when speaking. I know Lie hurt you. She continued, I know, and I'm not asking you to forgive her, but she's still my daughter. Right? I can just exclude her. I felt like screaming. Why it was always about Lie? Why couldn't you see that I was the one who had been hurt, that I was the one who deserved their support? I'm not asking you to exclude her, Dad. I finally said, I'm just asking you to choose me for once. I've spent my whole life being second to her, and if you can't be there for me on the most important day of my life without dragging it with you, then maybe you don't deserve to be there. He didn't say nothing after that. He just nodded, got up and left, and that was it. He didn't come. My stepmother wasn't invited to my wedding either. Of course. Honestly, it hurt. It hurt a lot, but at the same time, it felt like the first time in my life that I had really stood up for myself. The wedding day came and went, and let me tell you, it was the best day of my life. Even without my dad and stepmom there, I didn't think I would feel this way. I honestly thought that not having them would put a dark cloud over the whole thing matter. But when I walked down the aisle with Cale's brother, surrounded by people, to the one who really cared, I realized something. I didn't need them. I had spent so much time trying to get my father to choose me so that he would see my worth, but at that moment I knew I was better without his conditional love. CA looked amazing, and when I saw him standing at the altar, any stress or the anger I had vanished. I wasn't thinking about Lai or my father or any of the drama that had happened to me consumed for so long. I was only thinking about my future and how I was finally free of all the burden that I came with my family. After the wedding, things were quiet for a while. I had no news from my father, and I honestly didn't expect it. He took his decision when he decided that Lai's feelings were more important than mine, and he wasn't going to go after him. I had Kale. His family and our friends were more like family to me than I thought. My own family never went, but of course nothing stays quiet for long when it comes to me family. About a month after the wedding, I received a message from my stepmother. It was this long, rambling text about how they missed me and wanted to fix things. He went on about how sorry he was and how I should just let it go for the sake of the family. I almost laughed when I read it. After everything that had happened, I still didn't understood, yet thought that this was something that could simply be swept under the rug carpet, as if years of lies and manipulation were no big deal, as if I should just forgive Lai because she said she was sorry. But here's the thing, she never. He didn't even apologize to me. He never contacted me even once. Never he apologized, never even acknowledged the pain he caused. And they still expected him to. I just kept going and ignored the message. At first I didn't want to deal with it. I thought maybe if I just didn't respond they'd get the hint and leave me alone, peace. But a week later I received another one, this time from my father. It was short and direct. We miss you. Let's talk. A part of me wanted to scream. Why was it always me who had to fix things? Why did it fall on me to reach out and make peace, when they were the ones who hurt me? I had given them opportunity after opportunity, and each time they had hurt me, disappointed, I was done being the one to fix things. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to go back to pretending everything was okay when it wasn't so. I decided to break off all relations with them completely. I blocked their numbers and deleted them from my social media, and I told myself that this was it. No more contact, no more second chances. Was difficult at first because deep down I still wanted to believe that maybe somehow they would change, maybe my father would finally see that I deserved better. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it was never going to happen. He was going to choose me. He had made that clear when he gave me that ultimatum about Lai. Kil was incredibly supportive of me throughout all of this, telling me over and over again that he was making the right decision, that I didn't owe them anything, and that I deserved to be happy without their toxic influence in my life. And I had reason. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was in control of my own happiness. I wasn't waiting for my father's approval or Lai's fake apology. I was living for myself, and it felt liberating. But of course, it didn't stop there. My dad found out that I had blocked him, and that's when the emails started. Long, emotional emails about how I was destroying the family and how my refusal to forgive Lee was breaking his heart. He continued talking about how he is supposed to, that the family should stay together no matter what happens, and how I was being unfair to Ellie by not giving him an opportunity to fix things. I almost didn't respond. I wanted to just delete the email and be done with it. But something inside me snapped. I was tired of being the villain in her story, tired of being the one who was expected to forgive and forget while they could move on as if nothing had happened. So I wrote back. I told my father everything I had been keeping inside for years. I told him how hurt I was because he never believed, how abandoned I felt when he chose lies over me, as he let me suffer for something that I didn't do. I told him that lie had ruined my life and that no amount of sorry was going to fix that. I told him that I no longer wanted to be part of his family because clearly I never really was. They had chosen. Lie was fine, but I wasn't going to keep pretending that I could just get over it and move on. It felt good to get it off my chest, even though I knew it wouldn't change anything. My dad didn't respond to the email and I honestly didn't expect it. He had made his decision a long time ago and I had finally made my decision. Breaking up with them was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was also one of the best decisions I've ever made. For the first time in my life, I wasn't living in the shadow of lies. I wasn't seeking my father's approval or trying to fix a family that was never really there for me was free. Kil and I are doing great. Now, we are starting to think about the future, maybe even having children one day, and I know that, no matter what happens, I won't let the past define me. I have a family now, a real one, with people who truly love and support me, and that's more than enough. So, yes, break up with them. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Sometimes you have to let go of people who they hurt you, even if they are family, because at the end of the day, your peace is more important than their expectations. And, honestly, I've never been happier about a year after breaking up the relationship with my family. I thought I was really done with them. I thought life was good, great. I even had Kale we were talking about moving together and for once I didn't wake up every day stressed about family drama. It was like I had finally reached this point where I could just be happy. But then suddenly I found out something I never saw coming. One day I was browsing social media just minding my own business when I received a message from an old mutual friend. We hadn't talked about lie in a long time, so I wasn't sure why that they were contacting each other. At first I thought maybe they were just saying hello or something. But no, the message was simple and direct. Hey, did you hear anything about lie? Now let me tell you that is not the kind of message you ignore, no matter how much you want to stay out of the affair's family. So, even though every part of me was screaming, "Don't get involved," I replied, "No." What happened? The next message hit me like a bucket of cold water. In rehab, he got hooked on drugs and tried to commit suicide. I remember just staring at my phone trying to process what I had just read. Suicide attempt made no sense. She had always been the favorite who I couldn't do anything wrong, the one everyone believed was the one who ruined my life with her lies. And now this, apparently after I broke the relationship with my family, things had started to fall apart for Lie. He fell in with bad company. He started experimenting with drugs and it escalated quickly. So from what I was told, it wasn't just about going to partying lightly, was hard pills, heroin, whatever I could get. It got so bad that she hit rock bottom and tried to take her own life. Her parents, my father, and my stepmother. They had found her just in time and rushed her to the hospital, and after she recovered physically they put her in a rehabilitation center and were keeping it a secret, trying to protect his reputation. But word got around small towns, gossip travels fast. I sat there reading the messages, feeling this strange mix of emotions. On one hand I felt bad. I would not wish it on him, something like that. Nobody didn't want Lee to be dead, and hearing that she tried to end her life was hard to assimilate. But on the other hand, a part of me couldn't help but think karma sounds harsh, I know, but after everything Lie put me through. After he destroyed my relationship with my family and lied about for years, it was hard for me not to feel as if this was some kind of cosmic retribution. I mean, she had turned my life upside down and now her perfect little world had fallen apart. It was almost as if the universe was balancing things out. I didn't contact my family after hearing the news. I wasn't going to get into that mess again. No matter how bad things had gotten things for Lie, they made their decision when they believed their lies and treated me like garbage. I had no intention of opening that door again just because things had gone wrong for them. A few days later I received another message from the same mutual friend telling me that my father and stepmother, they were having difficulties with early rehabilitation and wanted to get in touch with me. They thought maybe I could help in some way, that I could be there for the family during this difficult time. I couldn't believe the nerve after everything they did to choose Lie over me, to believe their lies, exclude me. They wanted me to come back and play happy family because Lee had hit rock bottom. No way. I sat there for a long time staring at the message, trying to decide what to do. A part of me wanted to respond to tell them exactly where they could put their request for help, but to another part of me, he just didn't care anymore. He didn't need your validation. I didn't need to yell or get angry. I had moved on and I wasn't going to stop.